Good day, you're watching Leadership TV, and of course, this is Inside Nigeria, where we discuss the major front page stories on our numerous Nigerian newspapers. And of course, we begin with a leadership newspaper here, where it says 789 ex Boko Haram fighters undergoing rehabilitation, says the Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Gwabin. We're talking about ex Boko Haram militants who are being rehabilitated and integrated back into the society. Moving on now, Dangote's wealth hits $23.9 billion. He's now the 86th world richest. Yes, moving on, National Assembly amends 2025 budget over allocation errors. Recurrent expenditure now 13.558 trillion naira, and of course 23.439 trillion naira for capital budget. The Defense NSA Police information, others affected. Still on leadership, peace deal. Russia rejects NATO troops in Ukraine. And still on the leadership, 33 legal miners arrested in Niger. Death toll in Benue attack rises to 34. Still on Boko Haram, US to audit aid funds to Nigeria. You can find that on page 14 of Leadership newspaper. And also here trending, CBN orders bank directors to retire over bad loans. The CBN orders bank directors to retire over bad loans. And inflation rate drops to 24.28% from 34.80%. Moving on now to our page 3 on our stand. Here it says AI, the risk and opportunities for Nigeria. Yes, AI risk and opportunities for Nigeria. That's on our page 3 of Leadership newspaper. And on our back page also, the Wednesday column with Olufunke Barua talks about ECOWAS and the alliance of the Sahel states conundrum. And below the back page here, we have the Ghana must go. Volume of stolen crude oil down to 5,000 barrels per day, says the NUPRC. Well, the big question is, what is that in English? What does that spell? What does that spell in Naira? We'd really love to know that. And if you want to know more about that, you can pick up a copy of Leadership newspaper, of course. So we're moving on now to The Nation. The Nation here says the major headline talks about CBN axes bank chiefs with toxic loans. And also tributes reign for Edwin Kiagudu Clark, 1928 to 2025. Tinubu, ex-presidents, governors, others extol Ijo leader. Still on The Nation, Ribadu hands over 59 rescued kidnapped victims to Kaduna government. And also talking about Dangote with $23.9 billion assets. He's the 86th richest person in the world. And still on The Nation, it says historic relief, President Tinubu standing pension backlog. You can pick up a copy about the National Pension Commission and commending President Tinubu for his work with the Federal Executive Council and the historic approval of, the bond to settle long-standing pension liabilities. Moving on now to the Punch. The Punch major headline here says workers in 109 embassies grown over 6 months unpaid salaries, and the ministry promises to clear arrears and ex-envoys kick. Still on the Punch, inflation drop, experts demand lower interest rates. Dangote's wealth rises to $24 billion after refineries operations. And still on the Punch, Tinubu Obasanjo orders mourn as Edwin Clark dies at 97. 54 trillion naira budget. The National Assembly raises recurrent votes. Cut 500 billion naira from the capital spending. We're still on Punch. $40.5 million to expand. About John Vent, the UK company investing in Nigeria's cocoa industry. On the Russia-Ukraine war, Ukraine protests execution as US-Russia raise team to end war. CJ's removal over military to release 381 ex-terrorists, urges empowerment and monitoring by states. Finally, on you know with bad loans to resign. CBN orders bank directors with bad loans to resign. Moving on from the Punch, we have this Daily Sun here. The major headline says CBN goes tough on bad loans, moves against insider lending, set 280-day compliance deadline, orders bank directors with bad loans to resign. Exactly, talking about the CBN. And moving on, Sokoto government and Ebonyi First Lady expressed delight over the Sun Award. Niger Delta Group warns agitators, sponsors of planned protest against NDDC leadership. How Nigeria's inflation rate declined to 24.48%, says the NBS. And still on Daily Sun, reps furious over INEX, over by or rather reps furious with INEC over by-election, summon commission's chair Mahmood over non-conduct of polls for vacant national and state assemblies. And 789 ex-terrorists undergoing de-radicalization, rehabilitation, reintegration program, says the CDS. And finally on Daily Sun here we have Clark, Tinubu, Obasanjo, Buhari, Akpabio, governors, Kalu, Tompolo, Yakasai pay tributes. Afeniferi, Arewa, Ohaneze, INC, Pandef, CUPP, and PAP also pay their condolences for the death of Edwin Clark at 97. Moving on now to Blueprint, the major headline here talking about positive economic outlook. Nigeria's inflation rates dropped to 24.48% after CPI rebasing. We have not imported a single litre of PMS in 2025, says NMPC Limited, and also says reported importation of over 200 million litres baseless. All right. Moving on to Osun local government crisis. Ex-council boss buried. SSG, APC scribe tango. 5 army officers, 20 soldiers face court-martial in Enugu. And also on business, Forbes. Dangote's wealth surges to $23.9 billion, now the 86th richest globally. And on sports, NFF steps down 2 referees over controversial officiating. We're still on Blueprint newspaper here. 789 ex-terrorists undergoing de-radicalization and rehabilitation, says the CDS. And talking about Clark's exit, a sovereign loss to Nigeria, says President Tinubu. Heatwave, NOA issues health advisory to Nigerians. Death toll in Benue community attack rises to 32. And also finally on Blueprint we have here protest against NDDC management ill motivated. We'll be moving on now to The Guardian. This morning, The Guardian newspaper, here we have a picture of Edwin Clark, says a life of struggles, statesmanship, agitations for true federalism. Tinubu, Obasanjo, Atiku, Obi, governors lead tributes to Ijaw leader. Still on The Guardian here, the House summons INEC over delay in conducting by-elections. MBS unveils new inflation template, reduces food weight to 40%. Sanwo-Olu, Dawn raise alarm over rising mental health issues among boys. We're still on The Guardian here, says the federal government launches nationwide crackdown on miracle centers. Lagos Assembly denies Tinubu's involvement in crisis. Concerns over critical minerals safety, rising vulnerability, illegal mining. Still on The Guardian, Defense Headquarters confirms rehabilitation reintegration of 789 ex-terrorists. Finally, now on The Guardian, Niger Delta Group warns against disruption of peace in the region. Well, that's all from The Guardian. Let's move on now to Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard newspaper here also, Edwin Clark, 1927 to 2025. His last words: "Don't give up on making Nigeria better," says the family. The family says those were his last words. Don't give up on making Nigeria better. As Tinubu, Obasanjo, Jonathan, Atiku, Akpabio, Obi, governors, others mourn. Bielsa directs all flags to fly at half-mast for 3 days. Still on Vanguard, high electricity costs choking teaching hospitals to vets. And also we see Boko Haram, US to audit aid funds to Nigeria. And still on the NDDC, group wants organizers to desist from protests. We're still on the Vanguard newspaper here. Fear grow over Pope's health as Vatican cancels upcoming events. And still on the Vanguard, education suffers reduced allocations as National Assembly amends past budget. CBN directs banks to publish dormant accounts. Federal government commissioned NDLEA's first barracks in Yola after 35 years. And finally, military should be barred from elections in Nigeria, says Jonathan. Moving on from the Vanguard, now finally we look at this day newspaper. The major headline on this day newspaper here says Ijaw leader and last of Nigeria's old brigade, Clark, dies at 97. Tinubu, Obasanjo, Buhari, Jonathan, Anyo Obi, Atedo Peterside, Akinyemi, political party, others pay homage. And still on this day, in historic development, Netherlands to return 119 Benin bronzes to Nigeria. Items represent linked to British expedition. We're still on this day. MBS unveils special CPI indices to enhance policy decision making. And here we also look at the MBS explaining new rebased inflation figures. Well, moving on from the these days, now that is all we have for you here on Inside Nigeria on Leadership TV. Please pick up a copy of Leadership newspaper